And Lisa, I just want to add, like, you mentioned complexity in terms of these game economies. Do you think that's also the biggest roadblock in terms of developing a Web3 economy compared to probably a traditional MMO?
I think the biggest complexity would be, as what Chris said, is the switching cost, really the interoperability, because you could move your assets from one ecosystem to the other. And if interoperability is the core concept, a core principle in a lot of crypto ecosystems, be it infrastructure, bridging, eigenlayer staking, DeFi, and also with games. What I don't know yet is how does assets move between games? How does it impact the game flow, the game logic, the content economics, and then the economics of the system, the incentives? How do you take a lightsaber from a Star Wars game into another, like a Minecraft kind of game, and especially where these IP are UGC, like user-generated content? How does that work on the legal level, on the legal side, on the operational side, before it goes to the economic side? I think that needs to be solved first before we can talk about the economics degree of this interoperability, which is going to be a big challenge.
And Chris and Michael, is that something that you guys experienced while building out Star Atlas and these Web3 game economies? Or is it something different altogether that you would say is the biggest challenge or roadblock in building out Web3 economies?
I would maybe start by dovetailing on Lisa's comments around interoperability. And I think, there are a number of challenges with respect to interoperability outside of economics. And, that would start with just things like technological limitations that we have today. So we're starting to see some of these bridges across protocols come into form, but it's still a challenge to standardize the transfer of these assets. And then also we've seen a number of compromises on bridges. There's a degree of centralization required, in a lot of cases, a custodian of sorts to hold the proxy asset while they distribute on a new chain. So I think we have a number of challenges on the technology side before we can really unroll this world of interoperability. For us in particular, there's challenges in asset quality. For us, building out this AAA quality game with best-in-class graphical fidelity, you don't necessarily want to take a Minecraft pixelated, 8-bit sword and move that into Star Atlas. So you would need to transform the item itself to be appropriately suited for the environment that you're operating in. I think where it gets interesting with the economics, or challenging with the economics, is really the economic alignment with these other parties. As creators, as builders, you have monetization strategies that rely on things like asset sales. That's a major component of what it is that we do and how we generate revenue today. And so to the extent we're allowing for multiple assets from external environments to enter into our world, that is a dilution of asset value of sorts, right? Now, there's potential upside there too, because if you can attract users from multiple environments into your world, then you can potentially outpace dilution with growth of the user base, right? Speaking personally, though, for us, and kind of again on that initial point of technology complications, we're pioneering development across all of the leading edge technology that's out there. That's building mechanics and logic that live directly on the Solana blockchain. It's working in Unreal Engine 5.2, getting early access to the game engines that are still in experimental mode themselves. And so I think challenges that we've had in the economy are less economic focused. It's really about being able to build the core product first, and then we have the expertise of Chris to come in and help ensure that everything's balanced and functioning properly. But it's difficult to do that when you're looking at estimates and projections when we don't necessarily have the full product online today, and understanding that there's going to be multiple iterative releases of this through time. And we'll constantly need to be rebalancing and adjusting based on that development roadmap.
Just a quick note. I think, Michael, you make a very good point, because that's something I'm noticing in a lot of projects. With any project, Web2 or Web3, you need a product first, and then you need at least some form of community. And then the main economy, first stage of economy, which is completely iterative, is to start driving user acquisition. Then you can improve the economy and improve the product, improve the tech, while focusing on user retention after. A lot of people just go head first into the economics, where you have no product, you have no idea, no business model, no revenue stream, no community, And there is no point talking about complex economic system, talking about user retention or more acquisition, because what are users going to come to your ecosystem for? There's nothing to do, nothing to play, nothing, no value to create, no value to add. And I completely agree with you. It needs to be product first, community, and then an iterative economy that keeps improving based on the changing market structure.